Prince William has far more serious things to deal with than his brother.
Oh, yes.
That's what it appears.
Now, with a special address, please welcome to the coronation concert stage, His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales.
30 years of royal glitter masked a secret darker than midnight in Kensington Palace. While cataloging family archives, Prince William stumbled upon a sealed folder marked only with his mother's initials. Inside it, a letter, an audio reel, and a hastily scratched note in King Charles's handwriting, evidence of deliberate erasure. The moment William deciphered the first line, tears carved paths down his face. The reality of his childhood shifted like shattered glass. So, could this buried truth shatter the crown's carefully scripted narrative and dynasty forever? Let's reveal everything. Prince William's shocking discovery. For nearly 30 years, Prince William believed every grim detail of his mother's final days was already etched into public record. He studied police files, biography pages, even hushed recollections from palace maids, stacking each fact like another stone around his grief. The wall felt complete until a routine archive review revealed a hidden folder that would smash his careful barrier and redraw everything he thought he knew about Diana's end. Inside that folder lay an envelope sealed with King Charles's crest. The wax was unbroken, the ink fresh after 3 decades. William hesitated, then slid a finger beneath the flap. The letter was dated days after Diana's death and stamped private. Written in his father's hand, it carried instructions meant to stay buried forever. The text was clinical, almost bureaucratic. Charles ordered senior aides to remove items from Diana's will, a softbound diary, cassette recordings, and one tape addressed only to her sons. He justified the decision as protection for institutional stability. Every line screamed restraint, but to William it read like a deliberate theft of memory. Palace veterans watching from the doorway say the prince's composure shattered. William dropped into a chair, letter trembling in his hands, eyes fixed as though the page might ignite. Public duty had raised walls of discipline around him, but nothing shielded against the discovery that his father had hidden the one thing he had craved since Paris: his mother's unfiltered voice. Diana's diary was a sanctuary of ink, bedtime memories, strange phone calls, quiet fears that someone was listening. The tapes held laughter, apologies, and blunt warnings about palace politics. They were never meant for newspapers. They were a mother's final hugs wrapped in magnetic ribbon, waiting for her sons to press play and finally hear her heartbeat. Yet Charles locked the material in a climate-controlled vault beneath Windsor. Courtiers later whispered he feared the revelations might derail his shaky public standing with Camilla. Protecting the crown, he claimed, required protecting its story, an argument that masked the harsher reality. Diana's truth had been gagged to keep palace windows polished and reflections tidy. Now the vault of silence bent under William's hands. He could almost hear Diana breathing through speakers, see her looping script across pages, feel her warmth sliding back into cold palace walls. Corridors once echoing with pageantry now vibrated with tension. Advisors drafted crisis memos. Diana's old friends slipped inside side doors, clutching memories. Photographers prowled gates, sensing history, preparing to rip off its mask. In William's mind, questions fluttered like cards escaping a deck. Did his father fear their hearts, or fear the people's verdict? Would hearing Diana's raw confession mend hidden wounds or blow apart the monarchy's fragile stage? Answers slept inside brittle tape and fading ink, begging to be played, to be read, to finally be believed, whatever storms followed. Next comes the confrontation between a grieving son and the king. Will hidden truths forge reconciliation or ignite a royal implosion that rewrites history? Keep your eyes locked on the screen. William confronts his father's hidden truth. It did not happen under palace chandeliers or before a sea of flashbulbs. The showdown between Prince William and his father unfolded in a quiet back room, smelling of old leather and polished oak. No advisors, no footmen, just father and son, the silence buzzing louder than any crowd. William walked in carrying more than his title. He carried questions that had hollowed him out. Weeks earlier, he found a sealed box on a library shelf. His mother's letters, a recorded diary, and a journal with pages stained by tears. Reading them reopened the day the world wept outside Westminster Abbey, only sharper, because this loss came with blame. When William faced Charles, he did not raise his voice. He asked one simple thing: "Why had you kept this from me?" The words landed like thunder in a small space. Charles, startled, blinked, as though dragged back through years of stubborn secrets. For a moment, he seemed ready to break. Eyes shining, shoulders falling, he whispered he had tried to protect his firstborn from more pain. But protection sounded like prison to William. Shielding a child from the truth steals the one thing grief needs. His mother's voice, her last love, poured onto paper. A spark became a wildfire. William pressed, "Who else helped decide?" Charles muttered foggy phrases. It was complicated. There were concerns, but no names. Air thickened, not with noise, but with decades unsaid. A shattered marriage on tabloids, a nation mourning its princess, a palace sworn to hide every crack. An aide called it a storm that rattled windows without moving a single photo frame. When it ended, William left with the journal and tapes clutched to his chest. He locked himself in his study, lights dim, heart racing through dawn. Hours crawled past, ink smudged as he kept rewriting his own memories, trying to fit new facts into old wounds. Thunder rolled over London, yet dawn felt colder inside that lonely room than ever before. Friends noted the change almost at once. Public smiles turned glassy. Events slid off the calendar. The future king seemed untethered. He confided to Catherine that it felt like losing his mother twice. First to the crash, now to concealed words. Grief mixed with anger, an ache that no state carriage or cheering crowd could drown. Inside the palace, whispers grew that William's view of the crown had shifted on its axis. Where he once saw duty shining, he now saw shadows. He grilled advisors, pored over archives, and replayed every recording until dawn. Staff tiptoed down halls, fearing the crack in royal armor would widen beyond repair. The letters had reopened an old wound, but they had also lit a fuse beneath 4 centuries of tradition. And somewhere in the echoing corridors, the king himself weighed a choice: reveal everything or risk losing his son's faith forever. What was Charles hiding and why, and could exposing it bring down more than one crown? Stick around. Answers are coming, and they may upend every royal rule you thought unbreakable. The journal and tapes that could break the crown. Prince William never thought a dusty filing cabinet could change his life, but on a rainy afternoon in a study at Windsor, it did. While sifting through boxes marked only with years, he found a binder sealed with tape and his mother's initials. Inside were copied pages of a diary and a pack of cassettes. Clipped on top lay a single sheet handwritten by King Charles the week after Princess Diana's death. The note told senior staff to lock these items away and to strike any mention of them from the official record. From the first sentence, William felt one truth slam into another like crashing waves. His mother had spoken into a recorder, not for newspapers, but for her boys. Her pen told stories no court historian dared print. Page after page showed Diana, alone, under chandelier light, frightened by stalking cameras, shaken by whispered gossip, yet still fighting to protect her sons. She wrote of her love for William and Harry and her fear that palace duty might swallow their hearts. On one tape, her voice, a bit shaky yet firm, said, "You were born into gold walls, but do not let them cage your spirits." William listened, tears stinging. Each paragraph and every tremble in her voice painted years of hidden pain. The night she realized Charles still loved Camilla, the morning she faced tabloids calling her unstable, the dinners where silence sat heavier than silverware. She confessed she often felt like a public smile on a private ache. She begged her sons to stay kind, to remember she was more than a headline or a postcard picture. The prince's shock soon turned to deep hurt. His mother's words had been buried by the one person who should have guarded her memory. Charles's letter was cold, citing national harmony and institutional order as reasons to keep the tapes locked up. It admitted he feared a wave of sympathy for Diana would deepen public anger toward him and threaten the monarchy's thin ice. By hiding her voice, he hoped scandals would fade and a smoother path to the throne would emerge. Yet that act stole healing from William. For decades, he had filled the silence with questions, blaming reporters, fate, even himself. Now he knew the silence was designed. Friends say he paced for hours, clutching the diary to his chest, muttering that the truth had been caged like a songbird. When he finally spoke to Catherine, his voice broke. "It's like Mum has been waiting all these years for me to hear her." While William wrestled with heartbreak, aides sensed an earthquake coming. If the tapes leaked, the public might rally behind Diana once more, judging Charles anew. Newspapers would replay her voice in loops. Commentators would call the new king a censor of his late wife. Loyal courtiers drafted emergency talking points, lawyers studied confidentiality rules, and public relations teams rehearsed statements about family privacy. None of them knew which path William would choose. Would he guard the secret to spare his father further shame, or would he honor his mother by letting her speak? Could revealing the diary break the palace's grip on its own story? Those questions tore at him. He wanted reconciliation. Yet Diana's words begged for sunlight. Everything he once trusted about duty, honor, and blood felt unstable, like cracked marble ready to split. The prince imagined how Harry might react. Would Diana's recordings reopen wounds between the brothers or heal them? Would the nation that still lays flowers for the people's princess demand answers the crown cannot provide? As dawn crept over Windsor's towers, William realized he held a spark that could light hope or set the royal house ablaze. Behind every curtain, palace voices whispered. Some urged a quiet accord. Others dreaded that keeping silent, once revealed, would look like another lie. Outside the gates, reporters sensed a scent of scandal on the wind. Inside William's mind, one vow grew louder. He would not let his mother's truth be buried twice. But if you thought that was shocking, wait until you hear what happened next. William breaks the silence. News of William's discovery raced through Buckingham's labyrinth faster than footsteps on polished marble. 1 minute, chatter echoed in every corridor. The next, an uneasy hush suffocated the palace air. Senior aides hurried into offices, shutting doors so quickly that portraits rattled. An emergency strategy group was summoned within 15 minutes. Spokespeople rehearsed bland phrases. Family matter. No comment. Please respect privacy. Desk phones rang non-stop, shredding calm, while couriers sprinted across courtyards carrying files stamped urgent in red that seemed to bleed raw anxiety. Yet fear seeped under every doorframe. Those who had read even fragments of the tapes knew how raw Diana sounded. Protective of her boys, furious at betrayal, determined that truth survive her. If a single clip leaked to the press, years of careful brand repair could crumble overnight. Some whispered about moving the materials to a remote archive. Others considered destroying digital copies entirely. One veteran secretary murmured that the tapes were more dangerous than any scandal since abdication, a warning that chilled even courtiers. William cut through their schemes. These were not dusty relics. They were a mother's last heartbeat. Nobody would bury her twice. At the same time, across the Atlantic, another heartbeat quickened. Prince Harry had long dropped hints of secrets smothered by palace walls. In interviews, he spoke of unspoken truths and silence that nearly broke me. As William pieced together the journal, he wondered if Harry had sensed this all along. Overcome, he dialed his brother for the first time in months. The call was awkward, half apology, half alarm, but ended with 7 urgent words. "Harry, Mom left us something. Please listen." The possibility of Diana's words mending their fractured bond struck observers as both hopeful and devastating, because exposing those words could scorch everything else. Not least for the woman whose shadow stretched through every chapter, Camilla. According to insiders who sampled the recordings, Diana described feeling hunted by the affair, terrified that Camilla would one day eclipse her memory and refashion the monarchy in her own image. That fear now felt prophetic. Since Charles's coronation, Diana's portrait appeared less, her speeches quoted rarely, as if history were being gently rewritten. To William, the deletion felt personal, a theft of legacy. Learning that his mother's pleas had been hidden while her rival advanced stoked an anger colder than grief. Courtiers noticed the chill between the prince and the new queen consort. At one charity event, Camilla offered a friendly aside. Kate responded with a polite smile that froze mid-air before she turned away. The cameras captured nothing loud, yet viewers sensed ice beneath the glitter. Through every late-night listening session, Kate remained William's constant. She brewed tea he never finished, sat silently while too real clicks filled the study, and pressed his trembling hand when certain passages shattered him. Insiders say she urged him toward truth, not revenge, believing openness would heal their family, and maybe their nation. Still, she knew the cost. Headlines, court battles, allies turning into enemies. The couple now stands on a precipice, defend ancient traditions or champion a mother's dying wish. One step could change the crown forever. Now all eyes turn toward what William might do next, a royal reckoning. Will he upend the throne to free Diana's voice or retreat behind tradition? Keep watching. The shockwave could topple crowns. The future king's choice. Will William let Diana speak? The atmosphere inside the palace had shifted. Whispers once buried in velvet halls now carried a new weight. The tension wasn't just about the rediscovered tapes or Diana's handwritten journal. It was about William. He was no longer the quiet son mourning in private corners of the palace. He had begun to change. Advisors noticed it. His tone in meetings, his lingering stares at portraits, the way he held his mother's diary tighter than any royal protocol. All of it signaled something deeper. William was thinking, weighing, and, by all accounts, preparing to act. For years, he had spoken passionately about the importance of honesty, emotional openness, and raising his children with truth over tradition. But those were words spoken in speeches, carefully balanced by royal duties. Now that philosophy had taken on a new edge, personal, urgent, and rooted in pain. Sources close to the future king revealed he was seriously considering whether to share parts of the tapes and journal with the world. Not to humiliate King Charles, but to finally give Diana her voice, unedited, unfiltered, and unburied. Others believe his first step might be quieter, reaching out to Harry. The brothers, once inseparable, had grown distant under the strain of grief, fame, and conflicting paths. But William, now holding a piece of their mother, neither of them had ever known, might extend an olive branch, a private moment between sons who once held her hands, now holding her words. A gesture of brotherhood before the storm breaks. Inside the palace walls, the anxiety is palpable. Courtiers whisper of a reckoning. If William chooses transparency, it could split the monarchy in two, between those who cling to royal tradition and those who seek to evolve it. For William, though, this may no longer be a matter of preserving the crown's reputation. It's about preserving his mother's truth. Diana was silenced once. Will her son let that happen again? Support for William is growing outside the palace gates. Crowds speak his name with hope, not out of obligation. They remember the boy walking behind his mother's casket, and now they see a man leading with purpose. This time, he's not following anyone's footsteps. He's forging his path, one guided by memory, justice, and an ache for healing that protocol can no longer contain. Meanwhile, King Charles finds himself increasingly alone. His past decisions, once tucked neatly behind royal curtains, are now standing in the open. Camilla, too, faces a wave of renewed public judgment, her image clouded by the return of a voice many still call the true Queen of Hearts. Diana's legacy, once managed and edited by the palace, is surging back, not as nostalgia, but as a challenge. Because this isn't just another royal rift. This is personal. This is about a son, a mother, and a truth buried too long. And this time, silence might no longer be an option. Coming up next, the world finds out, and the public reaction unlike anything the palace expected. The public awakens, demanding Diana's truth. Whispers began as a single ripple inside Buckingham's stone corridors, but the moment someone murmured, "William found her tapes," the ripple turned tidal. A senior footman tipped off a blogger. The blogger quoted a nameless aide, and within hours, hashtags boomed. Let Diana speak. Old photos of the princess laughing with her boys flooded every feed, each caption a plea for honesty. Reporters pieced together a timeline. William discovers a sealed box. Inside lie a leather-bound diary, micro-cassettes, and a farewell letter. He confronts his father behind closed doors. Voices rise. Nobody wins. The palace, terrified, issues bland statements about private family matters, but silence only smells like guilt. Opinion writers ask whether King Charles hid the trove for duty or self-defense. Conspiracy podcasts wonder if Camilla's smooth ascent depended on Diana's words staying locked away. Support for William explodes. Callers on morning radio brand him his mother's son and urge him to release everything. Inside the household, crisis teams draw up talking points, double-bolt archives, and monitor trending topics in real time. Yet every minute the tapes remain unheard, Diana's ghost grows louder. Her compassion, her pain, her fiery warnings about the institution now seem prophetic, and people want the proof. William stands between two storms. One is the monarchy he has trained to guard. Pageantry, tradition, centuries of controlled narrative. The other is the mother who taught him empathy and courage, now speaking from beyond ink and magnetic tape. If he keeps quiet, suspicion swells. If he lets the world hear, the crown's glossy shell could crack. Night after night, he weighs loyalty against truth, wondering which loss would hurt Britain more: a prince who betrays history, or a kingdom that silences a mother forever. Dawn approaches, and still he waits, holding the cassettes like lit matches, afraid to drop them anywhere. Prince William discovered a long-hidden truth the palace kept secret for decades, and it could change the royal family forever. What would you do if you were in his shoes? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the bell so you never miss more royal revelations.